Hi, seventh graders. It's Mrs. Martin, and I'm here to give your October book talk, the first one of the year. What a great month for scary books and creepy stories, which is what I'm going to start off the book talk with, and we'll kind of ease off as we get into the book share. Just a reminder that, you're hopefully keeping track of some of these book titles as we go through. Maybe you have a standardized way of doing that from last year. Maybe you have a new method for this year, whether it's on your iPad or in a notebook. But either way, you should have a list of some sort, a way to keep track of books that you're wanting to read for when you don't have anything that you're working on at the moment. And especially if there's a book that sounds good and it ends up being checked out or something like that, and you know that you want to come back to it at a later time, you want to be sure to keep track of those titles and authors as we go. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I've got a couple new books to share with you right off the bat. Brand new to the library, this first one I'm so excited about. It's called Scream Sight by Justina Ireland. This story is about a girl named Sabrina who would love to be an investigative reporter when she is an adult. And so she's trying to get this internship. And to do so, she is in the midst of researching a popular website called Scream Sight. On this, people post scary videos and compete for the most screams. So if you get the most screams, of course, your site is considered to be the most popular. Sabrina's friends and her sister Faith are talking all the time about all these creepy videos that are going viral. The more, though, that she's digging into this website, the more Sabrina believes that maybe these videos are not just actors and videographers doing the videos. Some of the clips seem a little too real, a little too close to home. And when Sabrina's sister Faith goes missing, Sabrina worries that perhaps she's going to be a victim up on this site. Can't wait to read this new mystery story called Scream Sight. I love the cyber angle to this one. Check this one out by Justina Ireland. Put this one on hold right away. I have a feeling it's going to be a popular one this fall. You guys know already from last year, if you came down here to the library and asked for a good mystery story, I probably directed you to some books by April Henry. This is her latest, called The Lonely Dead. What if you could see dead people? Kind of. For Adele, the dead aren't really dead. She can see them. She can even talk to them. This has been a gift, I guess you could say, for her all her life, but she has spent her whole life denying it. One day she's walking along in the woods, actually I guess in the evening, when her best friend, actually her ex-best friend, Tori, calls out to her from a shallow grave in the woods. Tori's been missing for a couple of days. And when Adele realizes the reason that she can hear her and see her is that Tori is dead, that gift that she's had all along turns into a curse. Adele realizes if she's not careful, she could wind up being charged for Tori's murder, because with Tori telling her all these things about what happened, Adele needs to try and track down the person who did it without being the next victim. This book, The Lonely Dead by April Henry, again, I think will be another really popular one. And if you haven't read all of our others by her in the library, you could search on the catalog for this author. The Shadow House series by Dan Pawlowski is just plain fun, spooky, eerie, not necessarily the kind to keep you up all night. I'm going to let the trailer tell you a little bit more about this series of stories.
Five kids have been summoned to Shadow House. It's a place where hallways move, ghosts appear, children disappear, and the way out, that's gone too. Shadow House. Read the ghost story, then live your own haunting in the free app. Some houses are more than just haunted. They're hungry.
Perfect kind of ghost stories. They're very short books. Again, there's that app that goes along with it if you like to have a book that has the technology connection And this one's found in our fantasy section. Some of you maybe read the first couple books but didn't get to finish the series last year, so check this one out. Vladimir Todd is the main character in the first book of this series. 8th Grade Bites is the first book of the Chronicles of Vladimir Todd. He's 13, and for him, junior high really sucks. Bullies harass him. The principal is after him all the time. The girl he likes even seems to prefer his best friend. Oh, and he has a secret. His mom was human, but his dad was a vampire. It's really hard to continue to hide all the time the fact that he has blood cravings, and his teeth, or fangs, keep getting bigger and bigger the more he grows. A substitute teacher begins to question him a little too closely, and Vlad is worried his cover is about to be blown. How do you act like a normal teenage kid when you're a vampire, especially when you're being hunted by a vampire killer? This is the first book in a vampire series in fantasy by Heather Brewer. So transitioning out of the spooky, eerie, creepy stories and into a couple books inspired by what you may have seen on film. 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott. We're used to staying 6 feet apart right now. And Stella, the main character, is used to also doing that because if she were to get an infection, it would jeopardize her possibility of getting a lung transplant that she desperately needs. She's been in and out of the hospital most of her life. She has to stay at least 5 feet apart, if not 6. No exceptions, because otherwise the chance of infection really could make her life difficult. Will is our other main character. He's about to turn 18, and when he does, he's going to be able to finally unplug all the machines he's connected to in the hospital and get out and see the world. The two of them, as you may know from either movie previews or looking at this picture, they need to stay away from each other, and it's the last thing either of them wants to do, because when they meet, they develop a friendship, and it turns into even more than that. Suddenly, 6 feet doesn't feel like safety, it feels like a punishment. If you like a story with some romance and certainly a story you can relate to right now with having to social distance for safety reasons, try 5 Feet Apart by Rachel Lippincott. The One and Only Bob by Katherine Applegate is the sequel to The One and Only Ivan. You may have read that book. You may have even seen the movie during your time at home this spring. In this sequel, Bob, our favorite dog from the first book, sets out on a dangerous journey in search of his long-lost sister. He does so with the help of his two best friends, Ruby and Ivan. But as a hurricane approaches and time runs out, Bob is trying to find the courage he never knew he had. And of course, because that's how Katherine Applegate works, he's going to learn the true meaning of family and friendship along the way. A heartwarming story. So excited that we have this sequel. And Katherine Applegate writes a beautiful, beautiful story. Fantasy with these characters just being brought to life on the page. I want to mention that because we have so many great books on the Mac and Via app, I wanted to just call your attention to one of them. Some of you may have seen The Call of the Wild when it came out in theaters back, oh gosh, when was that? I guess it was this winter, by Jack London. It's the story, and I'll pull that up here on the Mac and Via app. There are two ways to get there to our ebook collection. One is through the app that's on your iPad that looks like this icon. The other way is to actually go through our library homepage, and I'm going to show you that right now. I'll talk a little bit about The Call of the Wild in just a moment. Just wanted to show you one example of a book. So on the library homepage, of course, here's our catalog. That's how you can search up all these books and put them on hold, the ones that are in the library. Here's the ebooks if you wanted to go through that way instead of using your app. Make sure that you're logged in under Valley Middle School. And as students, your username is your ID number and your password is your CoLab password. It is different for staff. Staff use their first and last name instead of an ID. There are lots of ways to search on Mac and VIA. Today I just wanted to show you one way to search is by categories on the left-hand side. This is a lot like searching by genre. I'm going to search under this first category of adventure, which brings me to 419 different books. And if I scroll down, and I'm going to scroll one more time here, it's going to bring me to the Call of the Wild right here. And the Call of the Wild is a story, it's an adventure story, it's an outdoors story. It's about a dog by the name of Buck that has been stolen from his home during the 1890s gold rush. He's sold then into the work of being a sled dog in Alaska. So an outdoors story, a survival story, and Buck befriends an older gentleman, and it's about their adventures together. So for those of you that like an outdoor story, this could be a great one to read. Now when I clicked on this, I just clicked on preview so that I get a chance to just take a look at a couple of the pages of the book. If I wanted to actually check it out, it looks like this book is currently checked out right now, which is why it has that red dot. I'd have to put this book, I'd have to request it. And then in my backpack up here, it would tell me when the book was available. Just a couple other quick tips for you before we're done with our book talk today. Please stop down to the library if you have a question about anything with books and ebooks. Ask your friends for recommendations. Like I said before, search up the catalog for favorite authors or genres and keep track of book titles if you want to request something later on if a book is checked out. I wanted to show you one example of where I've searched a title and it has come up with multiple examples of that title. The reason for that with A Long Walk to Water is it's showing me the print copy, the audiobook copy, and the ebook copy. So be sure if you are putting a book on hold through Destiny Discover, be sure you're putting the hold on the print copy because that would be the one that you're waiting for in the library. Another thing just to take note of, if you put a book on hold and it's a book in a series, you may have to look and see which number in the series it is, just to be sure that you are reading the next one in order. We've had a few students in the last couple weeks come down to get a book, and they've looked at it and said, oh, this is book number 5 in the series. I haven't read book number 4 yet. Just to be aware that these may not even show up in order, as you can see here. This is book number 2, this is book number 1, this is book number 3. It's just the way that the system works. So just to take note of that when you are placing a book on hold, be aware that you might have to take a look at that with the series number. And last but not least, Mrs. Kump has been super fast at getting these books on hold to you. When you put a book on hold, especially if it's at the beginning of an hour, it's usually within maybe 15 to 30 minutes that she's able to send you a Schoology message and let you know the book is ready. But please know, just because you've pressed the button to say, I'm holding this book, that doesn't mean you can run right down to the library 5 seconds later and get it. She's really quick, but not quite that fast. So please do wait for that Schoology message from her that says we have the book ready for you. It will save you time, and it does give her a chance to actually pull the book off the shelf. I hope that you guys will find some great books that you want to read and get checked out. And in the meantime, happy reading.